You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN. Live on Joy 99.7 FM, this is the Midday News. The news is also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions. We are on Radio Max in Takrade, Castle FM in Cape Coast, Buipe FM in Buipe, Swiss FM in Ho, and Flow FM in Aflao. We are also on Twitter Spaces. We are on Facebook, myjoyonline.com. The Midday News is sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. This afternoon, Electoral Commission member Dr. Peter Appiahene dragged to the Supreme Court over his alleged affiliation to the governing NPP. Also, Attorney General Godfred Yeboadame announces plans to lay a new bill in Parliament to remove bottlenecks that make justice administration long and tedious.
For consideration, a criminal and other offences procedure amendment bill, which will drastically reform the jury system, the reform of the interlocutory appeal system in criminal proceedings, as well as other aspects of Act 30. And I believe that this, indeed, will go a long way to enhancing justice delivery in Ghana.
Also this afternoon, net enrollment at the basic education level drops in the country. We'll hear from Issa on how the drop is impacting the transition rate from primary to the JHS level.
For some particular areas, it is the school feeding, capitation grant, some of the support that comes from government that enhances the net enrollment.
Upper East Regional Veterinary Services begins intensive ruminant vaccination in the Eastern Corridor to contain the anthrax disease, which is spreading to other areas in the region.
Now we have vaccinated more than 400 sheep and goats right now, and 200 cattle. No, 2 cases we sent 2 samples to the lab. Both came positive. Yes, it's spreading.
We're live in the area. We have sports.
Ghana's Black Bombers might abandon the African Boxing Championships, which starts in less than a week. Details in 20 minutes.
And much later, we hear from the acting Chief Justice, Victor Jones Doche, on how 2 football teams made the year difficult for him.
This year, 2 of my teams, Chelsea, they have not done well. House of Oak, they are also struggling. But we shall bounce back strongly, and I'll watch their matches on your television.
We have that and more in this afternoon's edition of the Midday News. Please stay on for details. I am Emefa Apawu. Many thanks for choosing us. Let's dig in now. And in our very first story for this afternoon, member of the Electoral Commission, Dr. Peter Appiahene, has been dragged to the Supreme Court by South Dai Member of Parliament Roxanne Nelson Dafamakbo over his alleged affiliation to the governing NPP. The legislator contends that under Ghana's constitution, a person is not qualified to be a member of the Electoral Commission if that person is a known sympathizer, a member or openly affiliate or identified with a registered political party in Ghana. President Akufo-Addo in March 2023 swore in 3 new members of the electoral management body, including Dr. Appiahene. 3 civil society organizations comprising the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, the Star Ghana Foundation, and the Civic Forum Initiative held a news conference urging Dr. Appiahene to resign. He remains at post, and the Supreme Court has been asked to intervene. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable joins me in studio with details of what this suit is all about. So let's talk about the reliefs the legislator is seeking, Joseph.
And so one is asking the Supreme Court to declare that upon a true and proper interpretation of the 1992 Constitution, a person is not qualified to be a member of the Electoral Commission if that person is a known sympathizer, a member or openly affiliates or identifies with a registered political party in Ghana. It's also asking for a declaration that a person who is a known sympathizer or who openly affiliates or identifies with a political party will be biased or prejudiced in his constitutional duties as a member of the Electoral Commission. And so he's asking the court to injunct, first to revoke the appointment of Dr. Appiahene by the President as a member of the Electoral Commission, and in order to restrain Dr. Appiahene from acting or holding himself out as a member of the Electoral Commission.
Okay, well, so these are the reliefs, and this has been filed. Do we know when this case will be heard, amongst others, Joseph?
It goes through the normal process. It was just filed late afternoon yesterday. So what happens next is that the various individuals who have been named as defendants would have to be served. And so Dr. Appiahene is the first defendant. The Electoral Commission has also been sued. Then the Attorney General as the constitutional defendant, and in such civil matters also been named as the third defendant.
And I'm sure you've been interacting with the legislator, that's Roxanne Nelson Dapamakbo, on this, whether they've been able to gather some evidence of a sort in this alleged connection to the NPP.
I mean, the legal team explained to us that as far as they are concerned and with what they've been able to pick up, they know for a fact and they don't have any doubt in their minds that he affiliates with the New Patriotic Party. And they believe that that affiliation means that he's not qualified or eligible to hold office as a member of the Electoral Commission. They explained that the role that the EC plays is critical as the institution that organizes the elections. And so it's important that once they are organizing elections for political parties, they should not be having individuals who are taking decisions who are known or seen to be or affiliated to a certain political party participating in those decision-making process.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joseph Akable. We'll get to hear from these civil society organizations also subsequently, plus the legislator himself, Roxanne Nelson Dapamakbo. But we'll stay on legal issues because the Attorney General, Godfred Yabuadame, says he has initiated steps to reform the justice delivery system to enable the court to deal with cases faster. A proposed bill to make changes with the jury system up for possible review has been presented to the Judicial Council for advice. Mr. Dami announced this at the valedictory ceremony of Acting Chief Justice Victor Jones Doche.
Although I cannot conclude without commenting on an aspect of your last judgment this morning. Indeed, you advanced very important proposals for reform of the civil procedural rules and criminal justice system. And I must indicate to you that as a good friend of mine will say, I'm always a step ahead of the game. Indeed, last week, I presented before the Judicial Council for consideration a criminal and other offensive procedure amendment bill, which will drastically reform the jury system, the reform of the interlocutory appeal system in criminal proceedings, as well as other aspects of Act 30. And I believe that this, indeed, will go a long way to enhancing justice delivery in Ghana. May God bless you, God bless the Judicial Service of Ghana, and God bless Ghana. Thank you very much.
That's that's the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yabuadame. Now, my majority leader, Osei Mensah-Bonsu, says he expects that Parliament will approve the nomination of Justice Gertrude Torkornoo as Chief Justice today. On Tuesday, the minority announced they will join the majority colleagues in approving her nomination, which makes the path to approval much easier. Speaking to journalists, the majority leader lauded both sides of the House for engaging fruitfully on the matter and backing down on entrenched positions.
Earlier, there was positions taking, but thanks to the engagement that we had, the report that had earlier been written had to be amended. Unfortunately, we're going to have a new report that would indicate consensus on the approval of the Chief Justice. I think that is how it's supposed to be. The Chief Justice, who is the arrowhead of the judiciary, I'm not too sure that there should be any unnecessary partisanship in his approval. But thankfully, we've come to the right conclusion, because some of us thought that if we did that, it would downwarp the institution of the judiciary. As I said, I think we've come to that mutual agreement, and we take it forward. So today, we're going to, when we go to plenary, consider the report from the appointment committee, and I guess in the shortest possible time, we'll be able to deal with it.
Well, let's go live to Parliament now, and Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us live. Kweku, so have you cited this committee's report, and what time would you know it will be taking?
Emefa, the committee's report has been cited indeed. It approves by consensus the nomination of Justice Gertrude Torkornoo. And in the last 5 minutes, the chairman of the committee, Joseph Osei, has moved the motion. It has been seconded by Governor Kwame Agbodza. Both sides are now debating the content of that report and also the track record of Madame Gertrude Torkornoo. And we expect that within the next 1 hour, Parliament will, by a voice vote, approve the nomination of Madame Gertrude Torkornoo to become the next Chief Justice of the Republic.
We can take live proceedings.
A country other than Ghana shall, on the renunciation of his citizenship,
We have a bit of a technical challenge there. As and when we get a clearer feed, I will bring that to you. But that's currently ongoing in Parliament. But Kweku, in other matters also, we know that the minority had been speaking about the upcoming mid-year budget review. What exactly are the details?
According to Dr. Kesela Fortin, who is the minority leader, the IMF deal having been secured by the country will mean that government would have to review some of the projections it made in the 2023 budget. So he's expecting that when Finance Minister Kenneth Ofori-Atta comes before the House, either this month or next month, to present the mid-year budget review, some of these projections will now be reviewed to reflect the agreement the government had with the IMF.
Concern to us is the state of our economy and the fact that the government has announced an IMF program and concluded same. It is important for us to get the minister responsible for finance as part of the mandate given to him through the Public Financial Management Act to appear once a year through media review before end June to deliver the state of the economy halfway the year and to review the targets and to inform us if indeed Parliament will be able to meet the target, and if there's the need for any adjustment, he will ask him for Parliament to update. For me, that is most critical. It's most critical because it will offer us an opportunity to know whether the Ghanaian economy is coming back to stream or we are going to continue the same trajectory.
That's the minority leader, Dr. Ato Fortin, earlier at a press conference there on the upcoming mid-year budget review. And we've been talking to my colleague, Kweku Asante, on this Appointments Committee's report and the debate currently underway preceding the approval of nomination of Justice Gertrude Torkornoo as Chief Justice today. We can hear a part of that proceeding.
Indeed, the nominee also provided her own birth certificate. That birth certificate was issued in the year 2000. I wonder what she used to acquire a birth certificate since she was born in the 1960s. I wonder what documents she used to prove to births and deaths to acquire a birth certificate that reads she's a Ghanaian. Indeed, I can imagine what she used. She might have filled the form, and the form would have said that the mother or father was a Ghanaian, and that is all it is, to prove that you are a citizen of Ghana. So, Mr. Speaker, I consider that singular decision by the Supreme Court as the biggest miscarriage of justice in our lifetime. It's the biggest miscarriage of justice, and this must not be allowed to stay. Mr. Speaker, to acquire a Ghanaian passport, the first article, the item you are supposed to bring is proof of citizenship. And they said Ghanaian. If you go to the website of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs right now, you will see that if you are supposed to get a new Ghanaian passport, the first item you are supposed to provide is birth certificate.
That's our proceedings in Parliament. You heard there the minority chief whip, Governs Kwame Agboja there, part of that debate. Will bring you more subsequently, leading to the approval of Chief Justice nominee Gertrude Torkornoo. But in the meantime, let's head to the Upper East region now, and a major vaccination exercise is underway in the eastern corridor of the region after the anthrax disease claimed one human life and that of several animals. The exercise is part of a list of measures to contain the spread, which may already be going to some other areas. Also, there's an absolute ban on the transit, sale and eating of ruminants from the region's eastern corridor for a month, but culpable persons will face prosecution. Listen to the regional minister, Samuel Yakubu.
We are not allowing any animals from there because, there are various markets. They have tamale markets that sometimes they take distance to the other markets, and we have banned movement of these so that it doesn't spread even in the region and also in the country. We have a border with Northeast, so we are also informing them also to be very vigilant.
And what happens if anybody flouts this directive?
He will be arrested and prosecuted because we put out the notice and it's there.
Upper East Regional Minister Samuel Yakubu there speaking to my colleague Mamiesi Nyameche Thompson. Well, the Upper East Regional Veterinary Officer Dr. Ni Ayi Anan says vaccination is underway with close to 700 ruminants getting jabs, but fears the bacteria may be spreading to other areas.
For the information I've gathered now, we have vaccinated more than 400 sheep and goats right now and 200 cattle, but it's ongoing. And we have divided our team. So they are going to houses from one house to another house, from one community to one community. So this figure, if I'm giving, it will be more than that.
Meanwhile, President of the Ghana National Association of Cattle Farmers, Imam Hanafi Sunday, says they are also taking steps to prevent a wider spread of the disease.
We are preparing to sit with the veterinary service and then, find appropriate measures to prevent animals from that movement. Because if we did not come together and you just put up the law that animals should not go, you are not in the bush. You don't know who is going where.
Well, according to the FDA, that's the Food and Drugs Authority, butchers and consumers disobeying spelled-out food standards by the authorities has resulted in this particular outbreak. Clinton Yeboah has more in this report.
People get infected from handling contaminated animals or animal products. Ruminants such as bison, cattle, sheep and goats, and animal products like beef, fat and milk are highly susceptible. Horses can also be infected. A lack of food safety standards will leave consumers unprotected from contaminated foods and higher cases of food poisoning. Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the FDA, Roderick Kwabena Dadi Eji, spoke at a market derby to commemorate this year's World Food Safety Day.
It's unfortunate that some people did not follow the standard. The standard was that you are not supposed to touch such meat. You see, veterinary would bury it and make sure they cover it with lime. So we are working together with the Food Emergency Response Plan that Food and Drugs Authority is championing.
That's Clinton Yeboah's report. We turn our attention to education now. And net enrollment at the basic education level has dropped, impacting the transition rate from primary to the JHS level. Enrollment at the primary level declined from an average of 91% in 2016 to 80% in 2020, while the junior high school enrollment also fell from 50% to 45% within the same period. Well, this is contained in a 2022 Ghana Social Development Outlook report launched at the University of Ghana. We'll get to delve deeper into it, but listen to the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Korte.
In terms of education, we saw that net enrollment, although picked up, started declining in some areas, particularly because for some particular areas, it is the school feeding, capitation grant, some of the support that comes from government that enhances the net enrollment, and therefore, where there are challenges, the numbers will go down.
Well, thankfully, we have the head of the 2022 Social Development Outlook, Dr. Martha Apawu, led the particular research, joins us on the line. Thank you so much for your company this afternoon. So let's talk about what exactly is accounting for this sharp drop and what the recommendations are to fix it.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to your cherished listeners. The problem with the dropout is just because of the delays in payment of capitation grants. The payment of capitation grants to various schools have actually usually delayed, and the amount of 4 cedi 50 pesos is woefully inadequate. Apart from that, payment of caterers has also been stalled for some time. It also delayed. And in most parts of the poverty-stricken areas, most of the caterers have simply just laid down their tools, and therefore, the food is not coming. So you see in some areas, because currently ISA is doing some work in the northern part of the country, and we realize students, the children leave school after 12 o'clock because there is no food. And we all know the reason why this school feeding was introduced. So if the children leave school, they come to school today, there is no food. They come tomorrow, there's no food. Definitely 3-4 days, they wouldn't step in. So that is actually causing the reduction in enrollment from the basic level to JSS, and then we are seeing that increase at the senior high school level because of the support.
So prompt payment of this capitation grants plus and maybe possibly an increase in the school feeding grants would be able to solve the situation. Is that the recommendation?
Yes, that is actually the recommendation. What you are saying is that there was a reason for the introduction of the school feeding. So it is important that these the facilities or the support to the senior high school that is actually causing the increase should also be, the same thing should be transferred to the primary school and then the JSS. Because
okay, we are grateful. Dr. Martha Awo with the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. We've been looking at the 2022 Ghana Social Development Outlook Report, and we'll stay a while longer in the schools. And there's a time for our schools of shame. And due to the lack of furniture, 3 to 4 children are forced to share a desk that is only meant to hold 2. Alternatively, they must crouch, kneel, sit on stones, or lie down to learn. In the final episode of season 2 of Ghana Schools of Shame, Jojo Kobina visited the Christian Heritage School in the Tatale district of the Northern Region and reports the children are desperate for the government to provide them with furniture.
Rainy season. Rainy season. Rainy season.
The Christian Heritage School in the Tatale district of the Northern Region has inadequate furniture, so the children sit on stones and blocks to study. Some of the children simply lie down if they start to feel uncomfortable. They become playful, dirty, and sometimes occasionally nod off on the bare floor. Research from the Ghana Education Service in the Northern Region shows only 33.6% of children at the kindergarten level have school furniture. The data also shows that 56% of primary school children do not have furniture. It is almost the norm to be without school furniture.
For kindergarten enrollment currently stands at 881, and of that number we have 52,643, and that gives us a 33.6%. So in total, about 104,238 children are currently either perching with somebody or sitting on the ground.
The total furniture deficit in the Northern Region alone stands at 321,116. Olivia Chemame is in her early teens. She is unwilling to sit on the bare floor at this point in her adolescence. She wants the government to stock her school with enough furniture.
After sitting on stones and blocks for long hours, you start to develop sores on your buttocks because the surface is quite rough. You feel very uncomfortable and unable to pay attention and learn. We park about 3 to 4 blocks before we sit.
That's the situation in some schools in Tatalina, Schools of Shame. Taking us on a quick break here on the Midday News, sponsored by Duraplus Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplus goes, water flows. The Midday News is live on Joy 99.7 FM here in Accra and Kumasi, on Love 99.5 FM. We're on Twitter Spaces. We're on a number of affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, also on Facebook and myjoyonline.com. The Electoral Commission member, Dr. Peter Appiahene, has been dragged to the Supreme Court over his alleged affiliation to the governing NPP, and we've been hearing from the Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame announcing plans to lay new bill in Parliament to remove bottlenecks that make justice administration long and tedious. When we return from the break, we have sports and then more sports, hearing from the Acting Chief Justice Victor Jones Doche on how 2 football teams made the year difficult for him.
This year, 2 of my teams, Chelsea, they have not done well. House of Folk, they are also struggling, but we shall bounce back strongly, and I'll watch their matches on your television.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, bath, chop, where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get 1 drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Hajia, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
This is the Midday News. Time for sports. Michelle Quinn is here with the latest.
The African Boxing Championship is less than a week away, and Ghana's Black Bombers look set to miss out on the competition. The Ghana Boxing Federation informed Joy Sports the Ministry of Sports agreed to fund the $70,000 bill for the African Championships, but with only 6 days left for Cameroon to host the tournament, it seems the ministry has had a change of heart. Jojo Efson is the Boxing Federation's communications director.
We are supposed to leave on the 10th. The minister assured us. But when we did a follow-up, he said that no, the ministry's priority now is to fund qualifications. That's qualification to major tournaments like the Olympics, those major competitions, all disciplines across board. But we were able to dialogue with the Director General of National Sports Authority to convince him that it's a preparatory ground for us to test the readiness of the boxers to meet their other African opponents who they are going to meet at the African Olympics qualifying in Senegal. So there was an assurance earlier on. But for now, they changed their focus and priority.
Before I take leave of you, I should add on May 27, a list of countries which had confirmed their participation was released, and Ghana was not on that list. However, the Secretary General of the African Boxing Federation, Andre Basil Kalong, said he was waiting for the confirmation from 15 other countries.
Okay. Well, I know you are a Chelsea and a Hearts of Oak fan as well, but stay with me. I have some news for you. But we'll get into the election headquarters at this point. And the governing New Patriotic Party is confident of victory in the upcoming parliamentary by-election in the Asin North constituency. The party is holding a primary to select its candidates for the June 27 election. On the other side of the town, the opposition NDC, together with its candidate James Jachikwason, are undertaking a series of activities to announce their presence in the constituency. We can hear from Director of Elections of the NPP, Evans Nimako, confident of victory.
The purported issue from the NDC that we are trying to smuggle one of the prospective candidates' name into the register of Asin North is neither here nor there. We are very mindful of the constitutional provision. We would therefore not do anything that will foul the law. So the issue of NDC throwing about all these allegations is up to them.
Now, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Gbande, is accusing the NPP of vote buying already.
It's clear that, among other things, the NPP today is not popular on the ground. They have done nothing for Ghanaians. They have done nothing for the people of Asin North. They have come out to complain how, as of 2020, all projects in that constituency came to a halt after the election. And just last week, those contractors are suddenly back to site.
Let's now focus on the climate and 7 years to the deadline set by the United Nations for the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action. Ghana is yet to fully implement its laws and regulations on safe disposal of hazardous electrical and electronic waste as enshrined in Act 917. My colleague Carlos Caloni finds out in today's episode of Climate Focus.
The collection and haphazard burning of used or spoiled lorry tires has become a big business here in Ghana. Here at Ashaiman, these scrap dealers explain to Joy News what goes into the business.
The tires, we get it from vulcanizers who burn it and sell the wares in it. You know, when you burn it, you see wares in the EPA hardly get to know whether we are burning it or where we burn it, because we don't burn it in the daytime. Sometimes we burn it 1 or even 12 a.m. We know we are not protecting the environment. But the only thing we can do is to, burn it.
1/3 of outpatients, including toddlers who visit this facility, have varying forms of respiratory conditions that could be linked to increased air pollution.
Based on the number of cases we see in a day, at least you see about 1/3 of clients coming with upper respiratory tract infections, and it ranges from kids 1 year and above.
Meet 37-year-old Roland Aja Eyim, not his real name.
The doctor told me I have asthma, which was caused by the smoke I was inhaling from that tires that is being burnt.
What strategies can the country deploy under the current circumstances? Professor Daniel Trefo of University of Ghana is an environmental economist.
Having a formal recycling plant, and then they will be able to recycle it in a more environmentally sustainable way.
Well, that's our focus on the climate, and it's time for our Remembrance Series. And one of the interesting aspects of Ghana's culture is the way mourners pay last respects to their departed loved ones. Funerals in this part of the world are often characterized by exciting scenes aside from the grief that engulfs attendees. In today's edition of our Remembrance Series of celebrated Ghanaian writer Amatedu, veteran actor Akofa Ejiani brings us extracts of how the late author describes Ghanaian funerals in her piece No Nuts from the book Diplomatic Pounds and Other Stories.
We love funerals. Half of the time, we don't even know who is dead, but we'll be there anyway. We would know the deceased. He would be my aunt's husband's uncle on his father's side, or my best friend's brother-in-law, or some such remote connection. And then move on to the next major business of the day, which is serious jollification. We sing, we dance, we drink, we eat, then we go back to our homes to wait for the next funeral.
Now, Chelsea fans and those of you also Chelsea fans and supporting House of Oak, I wonder how you're faring. But he listened to the acting Chief Justice, Jones Doche, saying that the year has been challenging for him due to the performance of these two teams.
I promise you that I will watch House of Folk matches on the television, no matter what you say. Oh, they say we are facing relegation, but we will not go. We will not face relegation. This year, two of my teams, Chelsea, they have not done well. House of Folk, they are also struggling, but we shall bounce back strongly, and I'll watch their matches on your television. Thank you very much.
And that's how we end today's edition of the Midday News. Don't forget, the National Science and Maths Quiz Regionals are also underway. We'll bring you updates subsequently. I am Emefa Apawu. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. EC member dragged to Supreme Court over alleged NPP affiliation. EC arguments defective in logic and betray Commission's appreciation of elementary English. And we apologize dearly. Earlier, the site was down, but it's up and running now. You can read more on myjoyonline.com. Have a good afternoon.